In this lesson, we're going to have some fun. And I mean that seriously. Powerful fun. If you have never created an HTML5 container page using CSS to format it, it's going to blow you away. It did me, and it still blows me away. It's amazing. If you've done it before, hopefully I can show you a few tricks, but all this does is reaffirm the absolute power of using HTML5 with CSS. So we are in our brand new site. We've got some images, got some text and things like that we can use. I want you to go up to the word file on the pull-down menu and go down to new. Now we're going to select new document HTML. We could start with a template, but what good would that be? You're not going to learn anything from a template. You get a template, you plug a few things in, wow, it's ready. We're going from scratch. So new document HTML. Now we can give it a title. Remember, this is not the document name, it's the title of the document. Let's get in here and type in something like Lighthouses 1. Maybe we're going to have more than one page with lighthouses on it. The idea of this page is it's going to show 3 different lighthouses. Now, the reason I know that is because I did something that I really recommend you should do. You should sketch out what you want on a piece of paper, so when you're formatting our containers using CSS, you basically know what you want. Now, doc type is definitely HTML5. Let me mention this right here. I don't think I've talked about this area yet. Attach CSS. We are about to get into the world of CSS in this chapter. CSS cascading style sheets can be a separate document. So if we had a separate document, which we are actually going to do later on, if we had that separate document and we attached it here, as soon as we opened the page and made the containers, they would be instantly formatted. Now, we'll do that later. Just click Create. Here we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to split the screen. Now the reason I am is I want you to watch what goes on in the code, and we're even going to use that to help us out. Now you can see we got titles right here, and there's the Lighthouses 1. Change it if you want. Click up here to create your first insertion point. Now what we need to understand is we need another panel to work in. I am in the default workspace, and that's where I want you to be. Because in the default workspace is an area called Insert right here. This has got all the cool stuff. You got options right here like tabs, forms and templates, etc. We do want HTML, but I want to do something here. What I want to do is I want to be able to get to things like my files and my assets and still work with the insert panel. Now to do that, I want to change where it is. So I'm going to drag it out. Just click and drag it out. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. And I'm going to grab it and drag it up here until I see that blue line appear. And now I have it up here, which is where I want it. This area from here over to here is the area we are currently going to be working in. So I want to create a document, and the document is going to have 3 areas. Each area is going to hold one of our lighthouses. So I know what I want. What I need first, of course, is like a heading. So I'm going to come down here, make sure I'm clicking right in, getting my insert point. And I have an item up here called header. Click it. Now you're going to get this floating box, insert header. Now you've got 2 things, class and ID. So let's talk about those 2. A class is a name that you give, you make up the name, can be just about any name you want. The difference between a class and ID primarily, not exclusively, but the main difference between a class and ID, if you define an area as a class, it can be used to identify multiple areas. IDs are typically used in single areas. We're going to use IDs on this. So if I get into ID right here, let me go ahead and type in image title. Now notice how I type that in, lowercase image and capital T for title. To me, that's going back to my roots in programming and things like C, where we used to use this type of way to name things. You can use anything you want to, but a lot of special characters you can't use, and you can't use spaces. So we always use the capital letter so it'd be easier to read the next word, image title. I'm going to click OK and watch what happens. We have up there content for ID, image title goes here, which is exactly the way it looked in the previous lesson when we talked about doing this. Now down here, here it is, right here. There's my header. It starts there and it ends at the close, /header. click right up here to the right of goes here. Now what I want now is a section. Now the section is going to define the 3 images that we're going to put in. So if I come up here, I have an option for section. Go ahead and click it. Now let's start with the name. I'm going to call this image section. Notice I didn't name it section. That's the name HTML gives it. I could technically use the word section, but it could cause problems when you're formatting. So give it a unique name. You can use section in the name, but give it a unique name. Now, do I want it at the insertion point? No. If I put it at the insertion point, it's going to nest it inside of my title. I don't want this nested in the title. So I'm going to change that. Let's look at what we have. We have before the tag, start or end of a tag, or after a tag. I want it to go after this tag. I'm going to come down here. Now we only have one to choose from right now, so it's got the right one. So after tag, header, image section, OK. Now you'll notice it doesn't really look much different up here, does it? But down here, you can see that the section right here is outside of the header. Didn't want it inside, it's outside. But the next 3 sections I want inside. Those are my articles. And those are the places where we're going to put our images. So I'm going to leave the cursor right here again. I'm going to go up to this option right here, which is article. At insertion point is exactly what I want. We'll call this one image placeholder. It doesn't have to have the word article in it. Image placeholder. One other thing before we move on. Notice we have an option down here for new CSS rule. We're going to create our rules internally in this document. But if you want to define what an image placeholder is right now, you can click here and actually define it. We'll talk about that later, but just wanted to show you that. Click OK. Notice where it is. It is inside of section. Here's section right here and down here. What I'm going to show you next is something that's going to save you time. I need 2 more of those. I need 3 articles. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to click and drag across and select all of that stuff. I'm going to go up to the word edit on the pull down menu and go down to copy, although using the shortcuts a lot faster. Command on a Mac, Control on Windows, the letter C. I'm going to come down to article here, press the return key, character return key, get down to the next line, press the shortcuts easier, Command on a Mac, Control on Windows, V as in victory. I'm going to do that again. And that just saved me a lot of time. And there they are. Now, for the sake of what we're doing, let's do one more thing. A footer. I'm going to keep the cursor where it is. I'm going to go up here to say footer. Now the ID, image footer. Or whatever you want to call it. Just don't call it footer. Now where do I want it? I don't want it in the section. I want it outside the section. So I'm going to come up here and say after tag. Now we have more than one tag we can work with. I don't want it after the articles. Don't just go down like this and say, well, it's the last one. I want it there. No, I want it after section because section is holding the articles. Click OK. Right down here. So we have our body. Everything is inside the body. We have our header. We have our section with our articles. And we have our footer down here. Now the next thing, let's save this bad boy. Let's go up to the word file on the pull down menu and go down to save. I will call this one images 1. But where do I want it? This is not the index page. This is not the home page. I want it to go in the folder inside of our site root. And if you're not there, just click this button right here. Pages. Right there. We can leave everything else alone. Click save. Doesn't look like much now. I understand that. But in the next lesson, we're going to get into CSS. We're going to design this page. And you're really going to like what you see. I guarantee it.